today, as we continue this series on being a leader, we're going to talk about what it looks like to be an encourager. That's the E, first E in leader. Last week we talked about being a lifelong learner, and this week we talk about encouragement. And one of the foundations for this word in particular comes from 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 11, where it says, "Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing." Paul was writing the church at Thessalonica and reminding them to build one another up. And the definition for being an encourager in someone's life is someone who builds another person up for the sake of them to fulfill their purpose in Jesus Christ. You know, as we think about leadership, there's so many examples of leaders that tear down. They can be critical. They perhaps can be demeaning in their speech. They can have a spirit that's not for your best, but their best. There's so many lessons when it comes to encouragement. It would take us all day to really talk about it. But the one simple thought I want you to think of today in this video series is, are you a person that when you encounter others, you build them up? You help them become their best. You remove yourself from the equation, and instead you focus solely on what they're meant to be in Jesus Christ. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes encouragement can be in the form of some hard things. It's not always fluffy or happy language. It doesn't mean that you just can only say good things to someone. But we all know that we all get beat down enough. Sometimes we just need the right encouraging word to move us forward. So perhaps rather than that criticism for your spouse, you need to encourage the things you're seeing God do through them. For your children, perhaps instead of correcting them, maybe today you need to encourage them on the things you see as their parent that God is doing through them. And yes, sometimes encouragement can come in the form of correction, but that correction needs to be seasoned with grace and wisdom and ultimately some great encouragement to build them up. You see, if you're going to tear down, you've got to build up, and we're all can be guilty sometimes of tearing down. It's not that all tearing down is bad. Sometimes we're meant to tear down some things, that habits in our life, or perhaps people we have responsibility over that have bad habits. But you cannot tear down without building up. And encouragement is all about the building up of the proper things, and hopefully in the right environments, it's toward Jesus Christ. My prayer for you is, of course, in your home, in your marriage, with your children, in the church, in your friendships, but also in the workplace, that you would be subtly pointing people toward Jesus through the way you encourage. And yes, by just being an encourager alone, at times you will seem abnormal. The light of Jesus will shine through as you seek to do this. So listen, I know you can see the critical. I know sometimes tearing down is necessary, but a true leader humbles themselves to learn their entire life, the L, and then ultimately they look for ways to build up those around them and point them toward how Jesus has made them, the purpose Jesus has for their life. So just as a reminder, therefore encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are already doing. My prayer for you today is that this reminder will help you tap into the encourager you are and remind yourself of that mission today as you lead in the name of Jesus Christ.